Welcome back to the TagoIO Connect event 2022. Now for this track this afternoon in track one, we have another session presented by Semtech. I heard a lot of buzz about this at lunch. After Chris's presentation this morning, there's a lot of excitement around this one. It's a great topic. It's the LoRa Edge platform, revolutionizing asset management for long range and long battery life worldwide asset tracking. I already made the joke with Chris that I'm very interested in tracking for my toddler. We'll see if this provides some additional insight into that. I hear we can do that. You haven't met my toddler. No, I'm just kidding. We have two great presenters joining us today. We have Randy Ryder, who's the Senior Director of Wireless Product Marketing at Semtech. And then we have Shahar Feldman, who's Senior Director of Product Marketing at Semtech. So we're excited to welcome them both for this first session in our afternoon track.
Put my glasses on. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet everyone. So I'll do the first part of the presentation, just a quick intro on the company. I think everybody's already heard of Semtech, but you may not know that we have a lot of other products besides LoRa. And I'll do a quick introduction on basically sort of the high-level overview of the product portfolio. Shahar will get into the details of LoRa Edge, and then we're going to close it out with a little bit of discussion around LoRa Cloud, which is an integral part, actually, of the platform. So to get started, as I said, I think everybody knows who Semtech is. What you may not know is that we actually have three distinct segments to our business. And obviously, we're in the IoT sensor networks part, the industrial and automotive part, but we also have a consumer business. One of the highlights out of the consumer business is we do the SAR sensors that are in a lot of the mobile phones. And then we have an infrastructure group which handles all the optical networking, routers and switches and cable modems and things like that, support infrastructure for networking. So that is just a quick introduction on some of the other stuff we do besides LoRa. And then in terms of geographic diversity, I just wanted to mention real fast, we are a global company. We have global reach. We have sales offices everywhere, and we support all the major regions of the world and have shipped products basically. There's, I don't think, a place on earth where we don't ship products to. So, and real fast, because I think this one is really important. This is just a quick look at LoRa growth, which these numbers here, I think, are representative of the really of the strength of the ecosystem and really of all the players that are in this ecosystem that are building these products based on LoRa solutions. And what you see is just a tremendous growth. I mean, on the top line there, this is the year-on-year growth of LoRa gateways from 2.5 billion to almost 7 billion nodes. And really, I mean, it's really a phenomenal 3-year trajectory, and we're thinking that this year will continue that sort of trajectory of really seeing that endpoint growth continuing to grow in the right direction. And then in terms of the infrastructure side, the support from the operators, LoRaWAN operators, of course, as you know, LoRa has both public and private networks in the market. And as far as on the public side, on the LoRaWAN operator side, again, it's just amazing how many different countries now support LoRa through a public operator, and the numbers continue to grow. So I think it's a testament to everybody who's part of the ecosystem and how you're supporting the growth of LoRa and just the quality of the products that are being built. So that's a little bit of an introduction. Now, to kind of cover a little bit about asset management. So we've built this product, this platform that Shahar will talk about, which is called our LoRa Edge platform. And the reason we've taken this specific focus on asset management is because we believe that it's very complementary to the capabilities of what LoRa can do. And it's very horizontal in nature. So we've identified use cases and applications across a range of verticals where this is a market report, right? So this comes from analysts, and where the year-on-year growth is really tremendous in terms of the opportunity that's available in these various verticals. So the asset management platform that we are continuing to roll out and that we continue to build capabilities around is really focused at trying to address from a horizontal perspective all these different types of verticals that have an asset management component to them. So when it comes to asset management or when it comes to asset tracking, you know, it was interesting this morning. There was some talk about, really, having a product focus. What does the customer need? What pain point are you really trying to solve? And so it resonated for me because this is exactly kind of what we tried to focus on with LoRa Edge as an asset management platform. So the first point, and we'll get into a little bit more detail about what some of these things mean or how they're translated in the product. But the first part of it was basically having a cloud native solution. That means that we have a cloud component to the solution, which gives us the ability to have a cloud solver, which is basically providing the geolocation information that the tracker basically sends up. So there's some clear advantages to having this kind of architecture. One of the advantages is that you can really reduce the tracker power consumption. So it's one of the main things that we try to focus on. So lowest power, how can we produce a platform that really focuses on lowest power and lowest TCO, so the operating costs. So we really took a hard look at how do we build an end-to-end solution, a chip-to-cloud solution that can really focus on low power and low TCO and provide something that has global availability and that can scale globally, because a lot of these asset management applications actually span across nations, they span across continents. And then the other key component here from a product perspective was how can we create a solution that focuses on continuous tracking going from outdoor to indoor, where you may have an asset that traverses through a range of environments on its way from the point of creation to the point of consumption, for example. So these are the key sort of factors that were rolled into what Shahar will talk about in detail in terms of LoRa Edge. So just an introduction on the LoRa portfolio and what we offer. We segment our portfolio into these different categories. And the reason we do that is that each of these categories has a special focus. So if we start at the top left, we have what's called LoRa Core. This is primarily consists of our gateway technology. So this is where we produce our baseband processors, the analog front ends, and all of the software or the firmware that goes along with these with those solutions and the reference platforms that are used to build these gateway solutions. The top right hand is LoRa Edge, which Shahar will get into. The bottom right is LoRa Cloud, which one element of LoRa Cloud is providing the geolocation information for LoRa Edge, but we also have some other elements in LoRa Cloud, which I'll introduce later on in the presentation. And then the last piece is LoRa Connect, which many of you probably are familiar with because that's our standard transceiver portfolio. That consists of our 1270s and our SX1260s and a lot of the new things that we're starting to work on, which are based on just either single band or multi-band type of solutions. That's what we cluster in there. And then in the middle, we have something called LoRa Basics, which is essentially all of the software that we produce to support these various facets around LoRa Core. So for example, with LoRa Core, we have something called Basic Station, which contains, for example, a packet forwarder. We have other software that's available for the gateways. And for LoRa Edge and for LoRa Connect, we have a lot of work we've done around providing a software stack. We have a certified LoRaWAN stack, for example, that we provide. We have something called LoRa Basics Modem, which is now combining all of these elements of the LoRaWAN stack with a lot of the various features that are available on certain platform, and combining that into an overall architecture that we can then deliver to our LoRa Edge customers. And then you can take specific components of that as well from LoRa Basics Modem and use them on your LoRa Connect transceivers as well. So it's really a holistic view at what are the components that a customer needs to go to market besides the hardware. They need software that is viewed as being a product and all of the underlying infrastructure that goes with that, reference designs and all the collateral that's required to do this. So those are kind of the segments of the portfolio. And I think with that, I will hand it over to you, right? So this is, yeah.
Thank you, Randy. So yeah, there's a lot of innovation, I discussed in the morning, that goes into each one of those different product families and the different components that Randy has mentioned. And today we're really going to focus on the LoRa Edge and two specific members of this product family. Basically, before I start, I would like to basically address the first question I had when I joined Semtech, about 3 months ago. So I'm pretty new into Semtech, and it was really trying to understand, number one, what is a chip-to-cloud solution and what's so unique about this platform. And really, if we look at the start, we start with the first bullet, it's the ability to integrate into a single piece of silicon, basically a state-of-the-art LoRa radio with best-in-class link budget and power performance, along with geolocation functionality, both indoor with a Wi-Fi scan and outdoor that achieved with a GNSS scan. And basically, unlike traditional GNSS solvers, who basically perform all the lat and long calculations and solving on chip, we have selected to basically offload these CPU-intensive and power consumption-intensive functionalities basically to the cloud, and by that maintaining a very extremely low cost and low power solution for the chipset. And then the third bullet here talks about cryptographic engine, which basically functions for the key derivation, secure key storage, and of course, running the AES 128-bit encryption algorithms. And that provides a couple of benefits, or 3 benefits here that we're stressing. And obviously, the very first one is the fact that with this mode of operation, we are able to lower the active and the sleep current consumption of the chip, which allows the IC to function out of a smaller batteries, fewer batteries, which help contribute to the lower cost solution of the tracker, as well as lowering the overall TCO. The fact that we integrate all these components in a single silicon basically allows us to maintain a very small size and cost overall BOM solution for the tracker. And of course, the last bullet talks about the ease of use of managing the keys and the provisioning of the tracker into the network. And before I go into more of these detailed functionalities, we talked a lot about product and market fit, so we should target definitely, we should focus on which use cases are best targeted with the LoRa Edge, because obviously, to Chris' point, we're not going to use that to track diamonds. So what should we be focusing on are those use cases that really pay extreme focus on power consumption and extreme high efficiency. And those we see here in the box in the blue basically are those use cases that would have infrequent location requests, meaning a call or a fixed request every couple of hours, or even every few days, or are event driven, and basically would always basically put the power consumption on top priority, meaning that a location accuracy of 3 to 10 meters, or even 50 meters for some of those use cases would be totally acceptable, given the fact that we are enabling an application that can run for multi-years, sometimes even 10 years, and basically, offer a smaller size trackers, and also allow use cases where the cost of the tracker is of increased significant. And let's look at some real life example. This is basically 2 trackers that are developed by the same vendor. On the left, we can see a tracker that is using an on-chip GNSS solver. There's no Wi-Fi capabilities in this, versus the one on the right, which uses our LoRa Cloud solver along with the 1110 chipset functionality. And we can see here in this example that similar performance and even better performance were able to be achieved with using only 2 batteries on the one on the right versus 3 AAA batteries on the left. And basically, one more way to look at it is looking at this locator application that basically is used with 2 fresh sets of batteries. On the top, we can see a GNSS tracker, traditional GNSS tracker. On the bottom, we can see our LR1110 based tracker, both basically starting operation in the same time. And we can see basically the battery consumption of the 2 trackers, where obviously the GNSS tracker, batteries are getting depleted faster than the one that is having the LoRa Edge platform. And of course, we can look at it from multiple angles. One can be that you can lower the overall TCO by reducing the amount of batteries. Another way to look at it is the maintenance, how quickly you need to send a technician to replace batteries. You can also look at it in terms of size. Basically, utilizing fewer batteries and smaller batteries allows basically more use cases where the trackers can be further shrunk. So jumping or going one level deeper, and I'm not going to be extremely technical unless you guys are going to ask questions. But I mean, we can see here that we're talking about very highly integrated solution. And we can see there's a lot of elements that are packed into this single monolithic die. And we can see here, I mean, we talked on the top right-hand side, we see the crypto engine. And then as we go down, we can see that a lot of those RF front-end components are actually integrated inside the silicon. So again, to further simplify the overall BOM, lower the size and the cost. And basically, we can see on the, there's a high power amplifier for the sub-gigahertz band that can output 22 dBm output, optimized for North America, New Zealand, Australia, and other countries, regions that are operating by the FCC rules. There's also a high efficiency, low power amplifier that outputs 15 dBm that is more optimized towards the Europe regions, 868 megahertz. And then, of course, if we continue to go down, there's a GNSS LNA integrated into the device. There's also an ability to use an external LNA. And of course, there's a Wi-Fi receiver. And then as we continue to go, this modem incorporates both LoRaWAN as well as the GFSK proprietary modes, as well as the long-range frequency hopping spectrum modulation. And then there's also a PMU, which takes anywhere from 1.8 to 3.7 volt and can operate in 2 operation modes. One is a very highly efficiency DC-DC mode, and one is an extremely cost-optimized LDO mode. And again, I mean, this silicon is packaged in a very small 5x5 QFN package, and is serving industrial temperature with -40 to 85. And of course, again, one of the key differentiator of this device is not only the high integration, but of course the extremely low power consumption numbers that you can see here, both for active mode as well as sleep mode. So now that we're all experts in the LR1110 family, and let me introduce another member, or the second member of this product family, which was introduced earlier this year. And you can see here, basically, we're taking the integration level even one step forward. And in this version, basically, we're keeping everything that we had on the 1110, and we're adding 2 features. And we can see here kind of more simply, in a side-by-side comparison. The LR1110 is on the right-hand side. We can see GNSS scan, Wi-Fi scan for geolocation, and then we can see the sub-gigahertz LoRa. And then on the left-hand side, we can see the 1120 adds satellite communication in the S-band, 1.9 to 2.3 gigahertz. And we can see LoRa 2.4 gigahertz. And let's talk about the key benefits that are enabled by this platform. So first and foremost, let's say that the number one thing that we're keeping, and there's a lot of good stuff that is being carried over, as we said, in between the platforms. So you can see on the left, we're keeping the exact same ultra-low power performance that this modem enables. We talked about extremely high sensitivity and link budget performance, better than any of our other previous generation transceivers. We're keeping those same performance with the into the 1120. We're also keeping the same cloud solvers used by the 1110 in this platform. What we're extending is basically a platform that is used or can be easily used across the global worldwide using a single SKU by enabling the 2.4 gigahertz. As we know, the sub-gigahertz has different frequencies and regulations in different regions of the world. In the US, it can be 902 to 928. In different countries, it can be 860s and so forth and so on. For the 2.4 gig, there is a single band that is basically allowed to be used anywhere in the world. And again, both unlicensed spectrum. And the 1120 basically allows the development of a single SKU tracker that can be used anywhere in the world. Moreover, we can see here that with the introduction of a new band, the 2.4 gigahertz, so think about it just like Wi-Fi extended the 2.4 gigahertz into the 5 gigahertz and then the 6 gigahertz. Basically, the making available the 2.4 gigahertz opens up the spectrum, opens up more channels and more bandwidth to be used across the different LoRa devices, both terrestrial as well as satellite networks. And finally, the 2.4 gigahertz allows higher data rates, going from 125 kilohertz bandwidth up to more than 800 kilohertz, allows us to increase the data rates 6x. And that basically, while still maintaining extremely long range functionality, more so than other 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi solutions in the market. And of course, satellite connectivity opens up those 90% of Earth that are currently not covered by any other network. So basically, it opens up both new use cases as well as simplifies the roaming complexities. We're going to talk about it a little bit in more details. And before we do so, I think one point we wanted to highlight here is that actually both platforms share the exact same pinout. And basically, what that enables is designers that would like to upgrade existing platforms to utilize the 2.4 gigahertz or the satellite communication or vice versa, started with a more complex superset of capabilities and now have a specific use case and would like to cost optimize their solution, they can basically substitute. It's a drop-in replacement, both the LR1110 and 1120. And we can see here that there was some thinking put behind the 3 RF channels that are being used. The upper one is used for the sub-gigahertz, the middle one for the GNSS, and the bottom line is used either for the Wi-Fi scan or basically for the satellite communication or the 2.4 gigahertz LoRa transceiver. So these are basically some of the key functionalities, and we talked about some of those performance and benefits, and we mentioned roaming. So we can see here a couple of examples where basically we can think about cargo containers that needs to be shipped across the Pacific Ocean with no 5G or any other terrestrial network can now be served with the satellite connectivity and basically the ability to support multiple use cases going from one state to the next or one country to the next, utilizing a single service. So again, some key flexibility is key. And then we can switch down to the 2.4 gigahertz for those cases where data rate are important and frequent connectivity are some of the needs of that specific sensors. And of course, we could use either or both. Depends on the use case. Randy, you would like to take this cloud?
Okay, so that was a pretty good introduction to, I think, the LoRa Edge platform that from a hardware and perspective. The other key piece of LoRa Edge, of course, which I briefly mentioned at the beginning, is that there is a service associated with LoRa Edge, which is part of LoRa Cloud. So this is just a quick introductory slide. So we have what we call LoRa Cloud, which today has 3 distinct services that we offer to customers. The first one is what we call join server, which essentially provides ease of use around provisioning and key distribution for your hardware. So it really simplifies that process quite a bit. The second one is the geolocation piece, which I'll have a few slides and we'll kind of show in detail a little bit more. So that geolocation piece today offers the ability to solve for position using GNSS information and is able to also provide Wi-Fi lookup information. So this, of course, was done, as we've mentioned a couple times, for the key purpose of really focusing on a power-efficient hardware. So, device makers that are focused on some of these use cases we're looking at, for example, take cattle tracking application, they have to guarantee that that device will have a battery lifetime of, let's say, 5 years. And so these kind of elements of doing these kind of things help us to be able to provide the lowest cost or most power efficient hardware possible for those type of use cases. So that's the single biggest benefit and reason why we've created this cloud solver, is to address the really extremely low power applications. Along with that geolocation service is there's a lot of out-of-band information that we can basically provide, meaning out-of-band, meaning that GNSS satellites will transmit a lot of information down, such as almanac information, clocks, accurate clocks, and things like that. We provide a lot of that information out-of-band through the geolocation service, so we can support almanac updates over the air. We can support providing clock information, things like that over the air. So again, that's one of the ways that we look at trying to create, what they call assisted GNSS model. So it's essentially following an assisted GNSS model. And then lastly, the last service is modem services. So one of the key things there, which spans across the entire portfolio, actually, it doesn't have to just be LoRa Edge. We can offer LoRa modem services for other devices that use our LoRa Basics modem software framework. We can provide a lot of interesting information from a device level point of view. Shahar was showing earlier battery status information of the tracker. That information was being sent through our modem services capabilities into the cloud, where it's then used to analyze and translate that into a battery life indication. So there's quite a bit of underneath modem services that we can do. We also offer things like what we call advanced transport services, where if you have large file uploads, we're able to segment those large file uploads and to create a more efficient transmission of large files. So there's quite a few services associated with LoRa Cloud. Some of them, joint server and modem services, span across the entire hardware portfolio, geolocation kind of being specific to LoRa Edge. So just real quick, I wanted to touch on a few key points. This is kind of how the full architecture, LoRa Edge platform with LoRa Cloud, everything together in unison. This is kind of how it works from an end-to-end kind of point of view. This is what we mean when we say chip to cloud. You have the LR1110 or the LR1120. It's embedded in some kind of a tracking device. It's basically communicating with the LoRaWAN infrastructure, which is communicating with LoRa Cloud. And we're able to, on the far right-hand side, you see the modem and geolocation services. So that's essentially where we're saying, look, you've got these modem services available. You've got the geolocation services available. The second box is the join server that I mentioned, where you can provision and basically enumerate devices onto the network. And that's essentially how the whole system works. And so when the tracker is receiving GNSS information, or maybe it's picking up Wi-Fi access point information, it's able to transmit that information into the network. That gets then sent to LoRa Cloud and is interpreted as a Latin long, essentially. And then that Latin long is displayed on whatever application you have that you've built for your solution. So that's essentially kind of the whole system architecture view. Specifically around, this is kind of getting really into the details about how GNSS works. But basically what it's trying to say is that we provide assistance information. That's what's meant by assisted GNSS. So we provide certain types of data to the tracker outside of his GNSS downlink. So we provide initial, timing information, some frequency error information, and this almanac. And then in return, what the LR1110 or the LR1120 does, when it receives specific information from the satellite, we encode that information in a special packet, and then we send that information up to LoRa Cloud, which then translates that into a Latin log. That's how it works for GNSS. Now for Wi-Fi, it works a little bit differently. Obviously, I think most of you probably understand the concept of Wi-Fi beacons and the information that's contained inside of a Wi-Fi beacon. So what we do with our device is essentially we sniff that beacon, and out of that beacon, we're taking the MAC ID, we can take the RSSI information, we can send that up to the cloud, which then translates that into, if it's an outdoor access point, translates that into a Latin long. We can also do indoor locationing with that, but with indoor locationing, it's a little bit different because you have to first, build the database, do the site survey and everything. But once you have that, then it can also return indoor location information. So those are the two kind of elements of geolocation that we currently support, and kind of how that information is fed into the system, and then how it returns a Latin long. I think with that, we're almost at the end. I think we have one more thing we wanted to talk about, right?
Sure. So, for those of you that are excited enough to try and want to put your hands on that, so we have a couple of development kits here that are available off our website. Similar platforms are available both for the 1110 as well as for the 1120. In both cases, we're going to provide two of those shield boards. I think one of them is with an internal LNA, and another one is with an external, targeting both active and passive GNSS antennas. And then, of course, you can see a couple of those GNSS antenna examples, a 2.4 gig antenna and a sub-gigahertz antenna. So this is really showing all the components of the 1120 in the 1110 devices. Now, one more, important demo is, the tracker. So we have, if you would approach our booth, for those of you that are here in person, and for those that are not, they can go straight to our website, and those are available for purchase for many of our partners. And you can see multiple of those versions. And those trackers, along with our LoRa Cloud Locator app, are basically are there for you as an easy way to demonstrate and evaluate the performance of our LoRa Edge platform, both in terms of accuracy of the location as well as the power consumption of the LoRa Edge platform. And basically, just follow this link here that is showing up on the screen to locator.loracloud.com to basically get all the information about the platform. There's a quick user guide that would take you through a 5 minutes installation, and you can be up and running and demonstrating the tracker. And of course, there's a very comprehensive list of reference designs and reference codes that are available on our website, both on semtech.com, as well as on LoRaCloud.com, as well as on our GitHub software repository. You could see different development kits. You could see also the different drivers. We have our LoRa basic modem that Randy introduced before, and also have multiple SDK code examples for tracker applications and for different transceiver applications that can be downloaded straight from our website. So I think with that, we're probably done, and we can address any questions if there are any.
I don't know if there's a Q&A. We can have a Q&A. Otherwise, we'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure. There is a question here.
It's Todd's question. So, for positioning applications specifically, how dependent are you on having like a traditional network topology versus once you start meshing? Like, can you extend beyond to where an edge point is sometimes an edge point and sometimes it's a gateway hop back to a traditional gateway?
Can you just repeat the question? Maybe didn't catch.
Sure. So I think what you're asking is if we support mesh, essentially, right, for extending range. So currently, of course, we don't support mesh. The LoRaWAN Alliance, the LoRa Alliance today doesn't support mesh. But there is something that we're working on called Relay, which is a simplified view of that is it's a single hop endpoint. It's the capability for an endpoint to do a single hop. And that's for one of the main use cases for that is to be able to support deep indoor applications where, for example, in certain regions of the world where meters, water meters and things like that are in a basement or where they may not be able to reach a gateway, you can do like a signal hop topology to try and reach that gateway to get out. But in terms of a full mesh type topology, we actually have customers who do kind of proprietary things. And I'm thinking of one in particular. If you're interested, I can talk to you about it afterwards. But from a spec standard perspective, as well as from what our capabilities today are, we have not focused on that. We do, like I said, I did mention relay. And something else we're working on is the ability to communicate between devices, but not necessarily for the purpose of what you would think of in a true sort of IP hop mesh system. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
From Device Solution. So I want to welcome here Tony Samarco. Please, Tony.
Is there a microphone? Or?
Yes. Microphone's here. No.
Okay, that's all right. Thanks. Thank you, Fabio. Let's see here. There we go. I was really excited when Fabio asked me to present at this event because we've seen it all from the beginning of M2M and IoT, and being part of an ecosystem that requires partnerships to be successful. Building an end-to-end IoT solution is difficult. Plug and play isn't really plug and play without really understanding all the pieces that need to be in place for your customers. We've had a lot of discussion today about understanding your customer needs. That's absolutely critical. So I'll touch a bit on that. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Sarah. Her presentation this morning was spot on. I am a startup Joe, as she said in her illustrations, suffering from the same mistakes that he made, and I'll illustrate some of those mistakes. And some of the keys that make a good partnership. Yes, there are bad partners, but I would argue that bad partnerships from incompetence is rare, that it's mostly your own fault for not understanding your customer and not understanding your needs and their needs. So let's get right into it. So Device Solutions, we're a company that was founded in 2003, mostly from a bunch of geeks from Sony Ericsson and Ericsson. So we have a lot of expertise on the wireless side, and we provide solutions for folks that need to wirelessly enable their products. So it was a perfect transition for us to go from this boutique consulting services firm to supporting IoT solutions and this incredible ecosystem that comes along with it. So along with us being this enablement company, we also did an end-to-end IoT product before there were actually these really nice integrated solutions and partners that provided big chunks of the ecosystem to make it much easier to deploy. Double-edged sword, because we suffered a lot of the problems that we're going to talk about today and what makes going into selecting a good partner to meet your needs. So the IoT ecosystem is complicated. I love Fabio's charts earlier that really had a nice detail of the ecosystem that shows all these different nodes. And in the early development, we really had to create these nodes ourselves. There were no AWSs, there were no MQTTs, there weren't these really nice interoperability standards that you could pull components off the shelf and make things happen right away. We have seen that companies are starting to integrate parts of that ecosystem now. We're seeing that the wireless technology folks, the LoRa folks, are now bringing parts of the ecosystem all the way to the LoRa cloud on their side so they can offer more parts of this ecosystem in a single stop shop. Single stop shop. But because those overlap, Now you've got some real introspection to do. And now you've got some real investigating to do to understand what parts can I customize, what parts can my partners customize, what parts do I need to have customized in order to meet my customers' needs. So as we talk about these, it becomes important to realize where the profitability and the return on investment lie within your solution. So there's a lot of text on the slides. Unlike Dr. Saracen this morning, you can read these offline to get more background. But here's the really important thing. What makes a good partner? Yes, there's the core building blocks of what makes a good partner. You need to understand your partner's core competencies. We're a hardware company that is a terrific integrator of wireless chipsets and PCB board designs and small, low power, low battery, great solutions integrated with an existing platform. We're great for that. As far as being an expert on building a dashboard, Tago's our partner for that. Enabling AWS in the cloud, Tago's our partner for that. In these big solutions of ag solutions, we have a wonderful partner in Envision. They're the expert in that. So we know where to go. So yes, understand your partner's potential. Of course, exclusivity, legal, and licensing are all parts of being a good partner and understanding your partners, but you need to be introspective first. So I'm going to spend a few slides talking about the importance of understanding yourself in order to determine what is going to make a good partner. So there are different flavors of the tools that are available for understanding yourself. Lots of business model canvases, strategizers, lean canvases, value propositions. Use those tools to understand who are your customers, who are your partners, where is your core expertise. If you don't understand those first, you're going to make a bad decision about what makes about a partner. Okay? We are in a unique position, like I said, where we can do custom engineering to enable wireless solutions or provide an end-to-end solution like we did early on, building these parts of the ecosystem on our own that was very inefficient and didn't have a great ROI for us and maybe didn't quite meet the needs of our customer, but it was early. So, customer discovery. It is important to get out and talk to your customers. You have an assumption about what your product is, what your customers' needs are, but until you really talk to your customers and stakeholders and partners and figure it out, you're going to be a bit off key. We interviewed for one project over 100 people that we thought were our end users and our partners, and tried to establish our assumptions on what we thought would build a good business case ROI value proposition for ourselves and our partners, went out and interviewed people, and a funny thing happened after about the 30th interview. We started to realize that we were a bit off on what we were thinking. So we needed to pivot. We needed to go back, reevaluate, and pivot what our actual targets were for those markets. So we had this really interesting IoT product that monitored pressure in tanks. This was built by ourselves, end-to-end, really didn't have a lot of partners involved except for Tago, one of our very early partners, to provide the visualization in the back-end data. But we thought, hey, this was super successful. Why don't we turn this into an end-to-end product ourselves? Instead of just being able to monitor pressure sensors, let's make a dev kit that can monitor 10 different types of I/O, connect to any kind of sensor that's out there, and make everyone's business model perfect by just using our stuff. Well, that was a bit off. So we actually reached out to another partner that we have here today, is the fine folks at Riot. They actually have an accelerator program that helps startup companies or established companies like ourselves trying to understand our value proposition and our business model to really take an introspective look on what is the problem that we're trying to solve? What is the solution? What is our value proposition? Who are our partners? So we took it to heart And we spent a lot of time to try to understand how we could make this product fit. So we made some assumptions. We put together an initial lean canvas, strategizer, business model canvas. And we thought if we had a flexible transceiver that could connect to any sensor out there, that we would have a really unique flexible solution that we could apply to lots of verticals and make lots of money. Was it unique? Well, it's a one-stop shop. So customers can come to us for a single solution, not have to deal with lots of partners themselves. They could come to one-stop shop. And who are our segments? Well, we knew that we're working with the gas folks. We had a really cool temperature, humidity monitoring solution that was end-to-end with a terrific dashboard presentation from the TagoIO folks. We also were getting into connectivity to a lot of ag sensors. So that was what we went into with our assumption with our device. So now we started to look at where do we need partners to help us solve our problems. So really digging into interviewing the potential users and end users of our products. And we started to understand that we're too small to go out and talk to sell to every single farmer and to every single distribution center. We needed a smart partner who is plugged into the distribution channels that are providing the ag equipment. I can't go talk to 300 farmers across the US and sell my product. I need someone who is skilled in the art of that vertical to help me from a sales and marketing distribution perspective. Pretty simple. You get a bit of Stockholm syndrome when you've got this product that works and you think you can make it apply without really understanding the parts that need customization and that you can benefit from really smart partnerships. So this was our before. We did a lot of introspection. We did a lot of interviewing. We got out of the building, talked to our potential partners and customers, and then we made a big pivot. So our solution, instead of being this flexible transceiver that cost more because we had lots of different I/O support, we decided, well, hey, let's customize the hardware and stick to doing custom PCB design directly for what our customer needs. Save a bunch of cost, meet their size requirements, meet their cost requirements, meet their battery savings requirements. Much better solution for us. And then we act as a supplier of equipment to our customers. We focus on what we do best. We do hardware wireless consulting solutions best. So let's find partners that can help us complete the ecosystem and make a better ROI for everyone. So we pivoted. We engaged partners that were experts in these areas. And that's where we really saw profit, excitement, engagement start to happen at a much bigger scale than we could ever have done on our own. So here's an example. We have Envision, Kyle. Hello, Kyle. Our partner in the ag space. We have a terrific solution for monitoring small bins. Initially, we thought selling to the individual farmer was a great idea. He needs to know when he runs out of feed so he can order more feed from the mill and so the animals don't run out of food. That's true, but it's not thinking in scale. And it's not utilizing the expertise of the people who are already in that space. It seems really simple what I'm saying here, but really get introspective and think about your value proposition. So we engaged Envision. They've got the connections to the mills, to the ag services companies that are aggregating all this data from the farms. Now we can add this additional piece to their big puzzle to make their solution better. And now we've got a scale factor built in without us having to go to all these places individually. All right, so now we've been introspective and we've understood ourselves a little bit better. We've understood our needs a little bit better, and we now understand what kind of partnerships we need to go after. Like I said, incompetence, partnership failures through incompetence are rare. It's mostly because you did not do your due diligence. So now once you have done your due diligence, and now you understand what you need from a partner, now we can talk about here are the traditional things that you need to look at when evaluating your partner. core competencies. Do they match what you need? Do they have the marketing and sales distribution channels? Do they have strategic direction to match what you're doing? What is their internal R&D? What is your internal R&D? What is theirs? So understanding their competencies first and foremost. Exclusivity. So you don't want to restrict your rights to continue R&D in this space. You want to make sure that you have the right terms in place to allow that partnership to continue while your core expertise continues. Seems simple, it's super important. Of course, you can start with exclusive licenses for particular products, but of course, they should have criteria that are performance related, that are time related, that are region related, and you don't want to limit yourself in that technology to one specific company. Legal partner. If there's an essential partner you should get first, it's a really good legal representation. Yeah, we can all kid about lawyers, but you really should have a lawyer that's an expert in your space, that understands what's important to your technology. And yes, we're not trying to give you legal advice. These are some things from experience that we think that you should think hard about. Indemnification, best effort. So when you're looking at partners, are they giving you a reasonable or best effort for that partnership to continue? Royalties and exclusivity, assignability, time frame. So these are all legal items that your lawyer should help you when you're putting your partnership agreement in place. Finally, licensing. You want to make sure that there are criteria in your licensing. So not just, we're going to license this many units for this much money for this amount of time, but you want to have criteria for exit, entry, schedule, exclusivity, and another huge part of licensing is IP. IP is a huge, huge hammer for making your value proposition stick. So really take advantage of IP. And another big thing that we discovered is the needs of partners that are from big companies and small companies are vastly different. Small companies tend to really like the technology and be jazzed by the technology because that's probably where they're focused as well. We're focused on being a hardware provider of IoT, PCB, custom PCBs, integrating LoRaWAN, integrating cellular modules, integrating Bluetooth, integrating our partners from the high end. We're jazzed by that. There could be a small company that we really like that's similar to us, but just another piece of the ecosystem. So the partnership can just be us having a more complete solution for our eventual customer. So as these ecosystem components grow and merge, think about big companies versus small companies' needs. Big companies tend to be more about how much money can you make me in this amount of time frame now with your proposal. So keep that in mind when evaluating them. Like I said, with TagoIO, one of our very early partners with respect to onboarding our devices, they provide, like for us, they provided the full service support for integration and data hosting. So we didn't have to manage all that on our own. We have multiple customers. We have 30 different customers. Managing all the billing between all 30 of those customers, it's a really beautiful framework with TagoIO where we can now create these different billing segments and billing profiles within the TagoIO framework, for example. So understanding the capabilities of your partners all the way up from the edge up to the cloud. Summary. So IoT is more challenging than it seems. It's not plug and play. There are going to be needs to customize. You can plug and play some parts of the ecosystem, but you need to understand what parts need to be customized by your customers in order for you to make smart determinations about what partner components to use. And scalability is difficult. Find partners that are experts in the space. Use resources like Business Model Canvas, Strategizer, the Riot Wrap program to help you understand yourself. And take the blinders off. Go talk. Dr. Sarah said earlier today, get out of the house, talk to your customers, interview, find out. Build your network, learn from others, find good partners, and be honest and open with them on your capabilities and their capabilities, so you don't get into a position of having a bad partner. Thank you very much. Questions? I said nothing controversial that's making anyone. This is mostly personal experience. I'm sure it's going to be different for everyone, but I think the key takeaway is you really need to understand your value proposition, and you really need to understand your core expertise and where you need to focus on finding partners. Sir?
Let me ask, in terms of talking to partners, there's lots of different levels in the organization, right? So you got account managers, others talking to partners all day long. Talk about either the translation of that back to teams, or what other blood types should be talking to the partners.
So I think that really goes to, are you talking to a big company or a small company? Because their focus is so different. On the big company side, it's tended to be C-level. On the small company side, it's been more technical. We like to get an NDA in place first, and then understand their core competencies, and then make that division between business arrangement and technology supplier. So for us, it's been technology supplier, smart partner, and then on the big side, it's business agreement, licensing agreement. Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, you have a couple of minutes. You can give you a 10 minutes break, and then we continue. Thank you. We are going to talk about smart devices for monitoring. And we brought here Jeremiah Neves from Khomp. He traveled all his way from Brazil for the event. We're very glad for that. And then we're going to have a mix between his presentation and online presentation. So welcome, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Fabio.
That's the slides.
Nice, nice. Hello, guys. English or Portuguese? What is better for you? Portuguese, for me, is better. My English is terrible. I try, I promise. My name is Jeremy. I'm from Khomp. I'm sales director from IoT in Khomp. Khomp is a big industry, technology industry from Brazil. And Khomp started 26 years ago. And 5 years ago, Khomp began make a device, developing and manufacturing devices in Brazil too, for IoT. Now you have a complete line for media gateways, endpoints, and sensor. And today is very special for us because it's a new integration together a Tago, and we make it a quick starter. Is a product and hardware and software integrated, and very fast integrated for if you started in IoT solution. My friend Juan is from Brazil, is staying in Brazil, and show for us these 3 initial kits, a quick starter, and in the next slides. About Khomp, oops, yeah. Khomp has 250 workers, and 130 is research and development guys. It's a good company and from Brazil, I think in the world for manufacturing hardware is very difficult today, and our technology is present in more than 40 countries in the world. No just IoT, but in call analyzer for massive calls in the contact center market too. In United States, we make it many campaign for politics and robot call and analyze call. And 5 years ago, we started the IoT. It's a new era for Khomp. It's a new market, and now Khomp has a two units for telecommunication and IoT. Uh, and for me, it's very special stay here because TagoIO is a good partner for Khomp. And the event today is a big event for us. And I think you have the same sentiment about this integration and wow show with has here today. Um, my friend Juan, I think, this is light, sorry. Here about the global presence. We have a presence in Colombia, Argentina, Australia, Egypt, Spain, every countries in the world. Together, technology partners for make it a software and deliver the solution. Khomp has a big line for IoT and Zigbee endpoints, LoRa, RTLS, standalone sensor to a KTM, narrowband, 4G, a main extension for integrated different types for industry connectors. It's the same same no sorry it's possible you connect different equipments for manufacturing. In Brazil it's very common now you connected reading the equipments. I think here is a big market for you too, no? Every equipment is connected to every net. This you have gateways from every net extension. Your network is a good partner for us too. And we started different projects together. Juan, let's go to Juan.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Jeremiah, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm Juan. I'm a business developer here at Khomp Technology, speaking directly from Brazil right now. As Jeremiah also said, Khomp is IoT provider of hardware. And say so, we see in the business a lot of applications that are starting and companies actually that are starting. And as we can see, the first step for IoT application or IoT solution, it's really difficult for some companies. It's a really a slow curve of learning IoT, and say that with that in mind, we provide partnership between the solutions from hardware of Khomp and the software application from TagoIO. Okay, and this application, it comes for people or companies that are struggling in getting the solution on the market or are getting slow in making this solution comes to the market. Okay, I will be switching right now for my presentation. Okay, switching. Perfect. Okay, thinking on that slow curve of learning, Khomp and Tago began a partnership using both hardware from Khomp, and software from Tago, and in Tago application also, that can make it easy and quickly process of starting a new IoT solution or starting a new project using IoT devices and IoT applications. Okay. Thinking about this curve of learning, and so we developed three boxes at first that can be used to measure up to temperature, humidity, and even another types of sensors like water leakage. We'll be beginning with the first box. Okay, And the first box is a quick starter integrated with monitor of temperature, humidity, open and closing as well, and using LoRaWAN protocol. Okay, we are seeing the first, even the three boxes comes with the same protocol of transmitting data. That is LoRaWAN protocol. This box it can be applied in projects involving cold chain, refrigerators, freezers, supermarkets, cold chambers, and so. And also, all the boxes comes with a complete package of sensors, transmitters, accessories, and of course, a free license from Tago platform. That way, the developer of the business model or the solution of IoT will be able to start monitoring, sending alarms, using analytics, and storing data using Tago platform for free. So buying the box also comes with a free license. As you all can see, this can be applied in a whole bunch of markets and business, and the part of switch, the part of development of solution, it will be getting more time to spend on business models or researching new market than regarding of worrying about hardware and software. You're getting the hardware and software uh, and a complete package, and you'll be spending more time thinking about your business model and spending more time in thinking how your IoT solution can be fit in a different market or so. The second box that we are seeing is the box of leakage and monitor water leakage. Okay, this box comes with a dry contact. It's a contact that can be used for monitor spaces, and also it communicates between the gateway and the device using LoRaWAN protocol. So it's a long range distance communication. And also, like the first box, it it contains sensors, transmitters, accessories, and the free license from Tago as well. A common application for this type of boxes that we are seeing really frequently here in Brazil, it's use this type of information for getting extra security in process, even in industrial process or corporation process, making the company making possible for the company monitor spaces rooms with larger spaces or sensitive rooms that cannot have leakage of water or stuff like that. Okay. And finally, but not least, is the third box. The third box comes with also a leakage monitor, but instead of using a dry contact, single dry contact with two points, we are using a cord, a dry cord. And this dry cord, it allow us to have a 15-meter space of monitoring, and using this space you can have more accuracy in large spaces that you need extra security for liquid. Okay, like data centers, machine rooms, pretty much every space that you're gonna need some extra security in knowing if you have a liquid of water or so. Okay. Also, it's important to know that every single box you're gonna be needing a gateway, a LoRa gateway, and Comp can also provide the LoRa gateway for you guys. Um, it comes even in different regions of frequency. We can provide the LoRa gateway with US frequency or Europe frequency, or Australia or Latin America. depend of the region your project of IoT will be needing for communication on the LoRa 1 frequency, okay? And even ever gateway you have to up to 200. Sorry, in every gateway you have up to 100 devices can be connected to every gateway. So you can buy one, 2 or 3 boxes and connect it at the same gateway with no problems. Okay. I'd like to thank you everyone for the presentation, for your time. Feel free to contact me and contact all our team for sales IoT team Khomp, okay? And if you need more information about the boxes, about the about the partnership between Tago and Khomp, I'll be right now. I'm sending the mic from Jeremiah. He's right there in the event, so he can take this time. Okay, thank you very much. Have a
Okay, Juan.
wonderful time.
Thank you very much for sharing your kits and devices. So thank you very much for Khomp for participating. And Jeremias, we will head back with Fabio in the venue. And that's it. Thank you very much, everyone.